I'm 73 and I have been naive my whole life. Are you naive? Is it a flaw? Stay tuned. Now, I have been told that I am naive more times than I could count. I've been told I'm too trusting, that I see the good in people and everybody like it's a flaw, and that I'm too optimistic, things like that. And they say it like it's a bad thing. But is it? Is it really a bad thing? I know some of you have told me that you're also naive and you wanted me to do a video on being naive. So that's what I'm addressing today. I'm going to talk about the downsides of being naive, the upsides, and yes, there are some, and why some of us are naive. Where does that come from? I'll also share a personal story as to how I am naive, one of the ways I'm naive. Now, I do want to say I am not naive in certain areas. I don't think you can put that word naive just in one box and that's it. I think several things factor in, and there are different kinds of naivety. I am not naive when it comes to like scams, or say you got an email that said, "Oh my, you just won $1,000 shopping spree. Click here." I would never click on that email. I don't click on any emails unless it's from someone that I personally know. If I got a text that said, "Oh, your bank's been compromised. Somebody just charged $1,000 on it." I wouldn't click on that text. I would call my bank directly. So I'm not naive in those areas. I'm more naive in human behavior. So, a few reasons why some people might be naive is because they have the desire to please, or they're overly reliant on other people. They have emotional vulnerability, or they fear confrontation. It could be so many different reasons like that. I'm going to tell you my 5 reasons why I know that I am naive. Number one, and these are in no particular order, but one of them would be a lack of experience. I really do not have much experience in the world or different situations in life that people go through or they encounter or they see throughout their life. I just didn't have that. I don't have that experience at all. Another one is a sheltered upbringing. I was very sheltered growing up, so I wasn't exposed to different things that go on. They may be day to day things in most people's lives, but because I was such a homebody and so sheltered, I just wasn't exposed to anything. Number 3 for me is a trusting nature. I just have this natural inclination to see the good in everybody. So I am not going to see any red flags or manipulation or things like that because I only see the good. Now, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better, but for the majority of my life, that is how I viewed life. And a lot of it, again, is just because of your lifestyle, the way you were raised, and things like that. Number 4 for me would be, I guess, a very limited education on deception. If you don't learn how to scam or be manipulative or conniving and things like that, how would you ever recognize it? You wouldn't see that in other people because you don't do it. And so you've had no exposure to it. So that can make it very hard to point those things out. And I guess the fifth one for me would be optimism or optimism bias. I never really thought about bad things happening because I didn't know about them. I wasn't out there. I wasn't exposed during my growing up years and teen years and maybe very early 20s. I mean, to me, people just inherently have good intentions. That's the way that I believed. Bad things aren't going to happen to people. People are kind. People are loving. People wouldn't want to hurt you, would they? No, not good people. Not people that have the right intentions. So that played a big role in it also. These are just some of the things, some of the reasons why I feel I am very naive, and I have been since the beginning. You've got to understand that, say when you were in high school and you went to your friend's house, you spent the night or you spent the weekend, you would go over there and hang out at their house. Well, maybe their family was different than your family. So maybe they drank a lot, or the dad was sitting there, guzzling alcohol, or the mom and dad were fussing and fighting and arguing and yelling and accusing each other of things, or whatever. Then you're exposed that, hey, not every house is like my house. People treat each other bad and they're married or they scream at each other and things like that. But if you're not exposed to it, if you just live in your little world, your home, you're a homebody and you're not out there, you don't see any of that. You don't even know it exists. So when something happens to you, you are totally shocked, totally devastated, because you couldn't imagine in your wildest dreams that someone could do this, that, or the other to you. So I'll share just one personal story, and I've talked about it a little in a previous video. But anyhow, for those of you that don't know, I was married once before uh, when I was 18 years old, and I was married for 12 years. And that was not a good marriage. And unfortunately, 1 year after we were married, I was in the hospital delivering my first baby, 18 years old, and my ex husband and one of my best friends were at our apartment and they, got together, if you know what I mean. The whole time while I'm in the hospital, which I was in there for 7 days. Well, needless to say, that was just devastating to me. And I don't want to, just put all the emphasis on the story. What I want to emphasize is I was so shocked because I could not believe, number one, that anybody would hurt somebody else in that way. That was beyond my comprehension. I couldn't believe that a husband could do this to his wife. I couldn't believe a best friend could do this to her girlfriend. And I mean, I really couldn't believe it. Now, maybe if I was older, maybe if I was exposed to more people and I heard different stories about, like when you're in high school, boyfriend and girlfriends are cheating on each other and then the gossip and everybody knows about it. I didn't hang around with those people. I was a loner. I didn't know about these things. So that's why they were so shocking to me. And I just I couldn't believe it. These were good people. My ex-husband was a Catholic just like I was. He come from a Catholic family. We all went to the same church every single Sunday and through the week and to communion and confession and all the church functions. These were good Catholic families. So I know he was raised in a good family and he was a good person. So how could he ever do something so cruel and so inhumane and, not have a conscience about hurting someone else? That's how I took it. That's what it meant to me. Now, granted, it was a low life thing to do, but many people might not have been shocked. They still would have been very hurt and felt very betrayed, but it wouldn't be like something like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this," like it is for me and like it was for me. So I hope that kinda makes sense. And of course, the way I thought and all those feelings I had were because I was so naive. I just didn't know that normal people, kind people, church-going people treated each other badly or did such things as these. I really did think being naive was a flaw, that it was a bad thing. And maybe you feel that way too if you're naive. But I'm here to tell you that being naive is not a flaw. And sometimes it can be a beautiful gift in your life. Now, that may sound insane after all the things I just talked about, but I'm going to tell you what the upsides are and why I am grateful that I'm naive. So, one of the upsides of being naive is that you just have optimism. You are genuinely optimistic. You just see the good in people. And really, what is wrong with that? I would rather see the good in people than point out their flaws or something wrong or something bad. Being optimistic gives me hope and it's a positive thought. It keeps me positive. It keeps a smile on my face. I don't want to give up on people. I don't want to give up on believing that people are good. They are good and looking for the good in people. I enjoy that in my life. Another upside is I feel my relationships are more authentic because I'm not looking at people skeptically and wondering, are they going to try to manipulate me? Can I really trust them? And things like that. So I build strong and deep connections because I see their goodness. I don't want to think about, well, maybe they're not trustworthy. Well, they may stab me in the back. Yeah, they could do all those things, but you know what? That's on them. And I would rather live with an open heart than a closed heart. Another upside is I believe there's less stress when you're naive. It can be exhausting, trying to investigate someone or search for little clues and things of how they may do this, that, and the other to you, manipulate you, take advantage of you, and all that other stuff. That can really wipe you out. I don't want to spend my time that way. I don't want that kind of stress, and I don't need that kind of stress. I'll give you maybe one more upside to being naive. And I think I would call that, I don't know, like a childlike joy because you see the world through fresh eyes. The little things excite you. You don't look at the world through the same lens as many others do. So to me, being naive, it's not a negative. It it has helped me in my life. It has brought me a lot of joy in my life because I see life through fresh eyes each and every day. I believe in people. Not to say they're not going to stab me in the back or do whatever, but I can't worry about them and what they do. I have to focus on me and how I want to show up in my life and how I want to live out the rest of my life. And, being naive to me fosters kindness. You don't judge somebody, you don't prejudge somebody because you're not thinking, oh, they might be a backstabber, oh, they might do this or that or the other. You don't think of any of that. You see their goodness. I keep myself removed from what's going on in the world, all the negativity, all the tit for tat and the talking and backstabbing and, all the horrible things that happen. I don't wrap my life up into those things. I don't need to know them. I really don't. I don't need to be around a lot of people that are gossiping and saying, "Do you know what Joan's husband did?" Or "Do you know what Bill's wife did?" And this and that. And who wants that? Who needs that? I'd rather stay in my little naive world and just think people are good and that people are kind. Am I naive to think, I'm safe when I go out? If I go to the store or Dave takes me somewhere, am I naive to think, oh, I don't have anything to worry about? Maybe, but I'll stay naive because I don't want to get so cynical that I can't live life. Oh my goodness, what if I go in the drugstore and someone comes in with a gun and blows everybody away or something like that? Yeah, maybe that will happen and maybe it won't. But I don't want to go out in the world that way. The world tells us to be tough and skeptical and on our guard. I'd rather live with an open heart. Is that being naive? Yeah, I'm sure it is. But that is a choice that I make. So if somebody tells me I'm naive, I'm going to take it as a compliment. I really am. Because it means that I still believe in goodness. It means that I still believe in kindness. It means that I still believe in the beauty of life. So I would rather live that way than any other way. So, as I said earlier on in the video, being naive can show up in many forms. You may be naive in one area and you're not naive in another area. It just all depends on your personality and your experiences in life. You could also be gullible. You could also be innocent, like you have a sense of innocence about you. And that is a big factor in my life. Innocence is not a lack of worldly wisdom, but it's the presence of a spiritual reality, in my opinion. That's the way it is for me. I don't mind being innocent. I don't regret anything or not having certain experiences. Not at all. Things were very different growing up in the 50s and 60s. I can't imagine in today's world any kid that would be naive or sheltered or innocent or any of the things that I spoke about because they are bombarded with all this stuff in the internet and social media. And my goodness, they know more than we know. And I would not want to be a teen in today's world. I'm just a product of the times that I lived in. I'm not saying everybody lived like I did, but things were so much different. I guess I should do a video about growing up back then and how things are today. I would much rather be back then. Probably some of you would too. So, for those of you that are naive like I am, remember being naive is not a flaw. It's just a different way of looking at the world. Well, now I'm going to leave you with an inside beauty tip. My inside beauty tip comes from Romans 16:19. Everyone has heard about your obedience, so I rejoice because of you. But I want you to be wise about what is good and innocent about what is evil. That tells me to seek what is good and stay away from, well, the Bible says evil, but things that you don't have to do, things that happen in the world that you don't participate in, be innocent to it. You don't need to know about it. You don't need to listen to everything you hear. You don't need to follow the crowd and jump in on everything. You don't even need to know that it exists. And that's the way that I lived. Because Romans 16:19 reminds us that being wise to what is good and innocent to what is evil may just be a better way to live. I would much rather see the good in people, trust too much, than live with such negativity and skepticism and have that around me and in my life. How about you? After watching this video, do you feel that you are naive, gullible, innocent, maybe all three? And if so, let me know in the comments section and how you feel about it in your life. I thank you so much for being here today. I truly do appreciate it. And until we meet again, this is the old girl signing out. See ya.